Thanks to your generosity, Marines have delivered Christmas to children in need since 1947.
Welcome to this month's Salute to Service. And with it being November and the Marine Corps birthday and Toys for Tots coming right around the corner for Christmas, I thought it was only right that we got a couple Marines on the show. So I have with me today Mr. Bob Kambandu. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you.
Randy Schmidt, welcome to the show. And both Marine Corps Vietnam vets here from Medina. So let's talk a little bit about just where you're from and your history and all that. So Bob, where are you originally from?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. And you've been out here in Medina for how long?
Been out in Medina for 30 years. Joined the league probably 25 years ago. Ralph Johnson got me interested in it and finally signed me up and been here ever since.
And the Marine Corps League, they're big for, I mean, obviously everybody knows them for doing Toys for Tots along with the Marines and all that stuff. So what about you, Randy? Where are you from?
I'm from California. I moved here in 1999 from Sunnyvale, California, and I've been a part of the league since 1999.
Obviously very active in the league and everything else around with the veterans also. So let's talk a little bit about your service going back. We'll start with Bob. So when did you join the Marine Corps? Drafted, enlisted?
That's a funny story. Got drafted, went to talk to the Army. They passed me. I went to the Navy because my uncle was in the Navy for years. And they didn't want to talk to me. So I walked out of the doors and ran into a Marine recruiter and said, I think I'll join the Marine Corps. And he said, sure. Come up and talk to me. I filled out the paperwork. He said, what do you want? 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years? And I says, I'll take 4 years. He says, come back in 2 weeks if you still want 4 years and I'll sign you up. I went back in 2 weeks and been one ever since.
Signed you up. What year was that?
64.
1964. So obviously that was kind of the start of the Vietnam War back then. It was kind of going on.
Yeah, I went to Vietnam in November of 65. And came back in November of 67 and got out of the Corps in May of 68.
So you did two tours over now?
2 tours in Nam.
So why did you sign up for the second one? I just got to ask. So our viewers know.
They don't really want to know. To me, it was the thing to do. We're fighting to help those people, and that's what I wanted to do, was help them, and so I did.
They say sometimes the hardest thing is to actually come home and leave, so I can understand.
Well, I went back and forth. I did come home after my first tour. I got 30 days basket leave when I signed up again for the next year. Mm-hmm. So I came home for 30 days and went right back.
What did you do in the Corps?
Ammunition.
Ammunition?
Worked with a 155 self-propelled outfit out of little dog patch outside of Da Nang.
Okay. And Randy, what about you? When did you join the Corps?
I joined the Corps in August of 1967.
And went to Vietnam when?
Left the States end of January 1968.
How long were you over there?
13 months.
What did you do?
I was in the infantry. I was 0351, which specialized in the flamethrower, 3.5 rocket launcher, and the 106 recoilless rifle.
And any significant events going on over there? I mean, anything you want to tell us about?
Well, I served in 5 different operations, combat operations that my unit was involved in, and was wounded. Had a gunshot wound to the head, and I had a bunker cave in that stopped me from breathing, and then the corpsmen got me going again after they had buried me. Mm-hmm. And I had malaria. I almost drowned in what was termed maybe a 1,000-pound bomb crater that was filled up with water.
Was it filled up with water?
That was filled up with water. And I didn't know what it was. I fell in it, and it was deep, and I just, So, and unfortunately for me, a Marine that was ahead of me came back and got me out because I couldn't get myself out.
You had all your gear on and stuff, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
Once that stuff
all
gets
the
wet,
ammunition, all the stuff, the flak jacket,
Yeah.
everything, and there was no
Yeah.
way I can get it off. And the mud kept giving way, and I was going down. Probably for the last time, I was out of energy, and he grabbed me and pulled me out.
Yeah. I saw a kid almost drown with a base plate on his back, and he probably wasn't in more than about 12 inches of water. He just fell and he couldn't get up, and that base plate was strapped on his back. And we had to go pull him out, but it was like watching a turtle sink. I mean, he's got all this stuff. What about you, Bob? How was your experience over in Vietnam?
We also went on lots of different operations, being attached to the 155 self-propelled howitzer unit. We went.
You're an artillery guy, yeah.
Well, I was the guy that gave them the ammunition.
Right.
We would drop it off, and they would run because they said we were going to kill everybody when we dropped it off. But we did a lot of different operations. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. So you guys obviously came home. You came back to Medina or back to Cleveland, and then moved out here to Medina years ago.
Yeah, I bounced around in Cleveland.
And Randy had the leisure life. Came back to California, obviously, with palm trees and all that stuff. So.
I came back to the snow.
But the question I got for you both is, you're both really involved in veterans organizations and things that you do. And we're going to talk a little bit about Toys for Tots. But what motivates you to do what you do for the veterans organizations? I mean, obviously the foundation started in the military, but what motivates you to continue on with what you do today? Let's go.
I'll go. It's simple. The last thing for a Marine is Semper Fi. And we did a funeral for a Marine Wednesday and Thursday, and that's what it's about. Semper Fi. You're always faithful. You're always helping. And it's just something inside you. You want to help the people. You want to help the kids. And if I could find a job where I did nothing but help people and made money, I'd do that for a living instead of what I do.
Yeah.
But as far as the kids and Toys for Tots, every kid should have a Christmas somehow, some way. And if I can help in any way, I'm going to do it.
Randy?
For me, again, what Bob has said as well, and in the Semper Fidelis, the always faithful issue, and I've always been motivated to wanting to help others, and especially children. My line of work after I got out of the Marine Corps, when I got my degree, I worked with children in both the juvenile hall and later on the bench in the courtroom. I was always moved toward wanting to help children that were in need in some way or shape or form, and then just wanting to serve others. Since my retirement, and moving here, I just had this drive that I'm retired now. Now I can help others that and since I've been living in Medina County and working and serving not only in the veteran organizations but through the church or wherever I could go to help out. I'm volunteer at hospice now and doing a variety of jobs at hospice. I'm just motivated, moved toward helping others that are in need of some sort.
So let's talk a little bit about the Marine Corps League, because the Marine Corps League is kind of like one of those small little veterans organizations that a lot of people don't hear about. Everybody hears about the American Legion, the VFW and stuff like that. Marine Corps League is identical to them, just it's made up of Marines, correct?
Yes.
And is anybody else allowed to join besides the Marines?
Corpsmen that served with Marines.
Corpsmen, the Navy corpsmen that served with Marines, because I know you guys consider them pretty much Marines. Anyway. So tell me a little bit about what the Marine Corps League does and a little bit about for Toys for Tots too.
Well, we do service. We do the burial services for not just Marines, but
you got an honor guard down.
We got an honor guard that is down there every 6 or 7 weeks, serving on that particular day to do services for anybody, any veteran being buried there at that day. And if something comes up in the community, especially if they're Marine or Marine family, we try to help them. I know in the past they've done things like build a wheelchair ramp for somebody that needed it, and there's been other things in the community that if it's Marines especially, then we want to be there to help them.
I know you guys have worked with the Semper Fi Foundation a little bit too, and got some money and helped out with some projects there. So how is Toys for Tots organized? I mean, because from what I understand is it's pretty much Medina County is its own district. And so the toys collected stay in the county, or?
Yes, definitely. All the toys we collect in Medina County stay in Medina County. We do have, the foundation does help us out with money that's collected and stuff. We turn money into them. They have a credit card that they give us for Toys R Us, so we can go buy toys if we need them. But mainly everything is donated, everything stays in the county, and we try to help as many kids as possible.
So when do we start collecting toys?
Usually the Marine Corps Ball is our kickoff,
Okay.
and this year it's the 5th of November. So starting the following weekend, we'll probably have boxes out at different locations throughout the county.
And where's the locations for the boxes?
They'll be everywhere. They'll be at the Veterans Service Office, they'll be at the banks, they'll be Marines probably when they have the Christmas parade out there, letting people know other places.
Is that the lights parade? The lights parade
Christmas
for Thanksgiving,
lights,
right? Okay,
right.
all right. So Medina County Veterans Service Office, that's our office. We'll have a
Right,
box.
you'll have a
We've
box.
always had a box. I know First Merit on Medina Square usually has a box.
They'll have one.
The Salvation Armies we talked about in Wadsworth, Medina, and Brunswick are all going to have boxes.
Right, and
but
we're
if-
going to work with them more this year because I've understood that the foundation wants the Salvation Army to have a lot more to do with it
Okay.
because they have a better record system than we do.
Right.
So we're trying to coincide with them and actually
Well,
work with them.
And I think at some point, I think people, that way they got a central location to go get toys and stuff like that. How many toys do you guys usually give out in a year? Or how many kids do you give toys to? I mean, what's
I think the last year they gave somewhere around 1,500 kids toys.
1,500 kids toys. That's a lot of kids.
And that's a minimum of 2 to 3 toys
Right.
per child, plus we try to put fillers in there, crayons and coloring books
Little
and
stuff.
just little stuff to keep them going.
What's the ranges of the kids' ages?
Babies to 13.
All the way up to 13 years old. So I would imagine some of that you are buying some pretty nice toys for, your 10, 11, 12-year-old. So, I mean, they're all brand new, correct?
Everything is brand new,
Okay.
unwrapped, and everything is donated.
Right.
The only time we buy is when we have permission from the foundation to buy, or they donate to us.
Right. So, so anybody wanting to donate, those locations we had mentioned, you can bring brand new unwrapped toys to. Remember, ages from babies all the way up to 13 years old. And then what about monetary donations? Who do they make a check to?
That check would go to the Toys for Tots, made out to the Toys for Tots Foundation, or
And
just Toys
give
for
it to the
Tots
Marine
and
Corps
give it
League here
to
and
the
they-
Marine Corps
okay.
League, and we will handle where it goes.
Okay, so Marine Corps League here in Medina County, you can drop those checks off in our office, or you can get in touch with someone from the Marine Corps League, make the checks out for Toys for Tots Foundation, and then you guys have an account for all that. So,
There will be posters with the Marine Corps League address posted in a lot of the
Posted along.
storefronts in town.
go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, and I was recently asked, I volunteered to be the coordinator starting now, and they can get a hold of me at my phone. Can I give my phone number?
Sure, you sure can.
Yeah, my phone number 330-725-5522. Any questions about Toys for Tots, please give me a call, and I'll do my best to answer.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit to your service and stuff, and let's I know you said it's a long time ago, but let's talk about the day you got out of the service. What's going through? You've done. Obviously, you guys both combat veterans. What's going through your head the day you're getting out?
Wow.
Where we are on TV here. So
Wow. Jump in the car, had a great big teddy bear I bought to take home to somebody, put the convertible top down, and drove from North Carolina to Cleveland in a couple of days and just kind of relaxed and
kind of relaxed.
completely forgot about the Marine Corps.
So what'd you do after your military career?
Went to work. Worked as a carpenter for a company that's known as Forest City Lumber, which is no longer in
Forest City,
business.
yeah. I remember Forest City. Now,
Worked
there's
as a
not-
carpenter, worked as a mechanic for a while, worked as a bartender for a while, played an awful lot of hockey.
What'd you carry? What about you, Randy? What'd you do?
Well, I was in a different circumstance. I was, like Bob, signed up for 4 years, but in my situation, I was being told I had to leave the Marine Corps because of my sight loss, and I was at the hospital in California, the Naval Hospital there, and and they were telling me this, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in, but I didn't know at that time that maybe I could have done something and not accepted that, and maybe forced to be able to keep me in. But I didn't know that at the time when they gave me a direct order that they were going to discharge me, and that there was no, because originally what happened was I had actually put in for OCS. I wanted to be an officer, and at the time, and then I was having these headaches real bad, and sight issues, and so they took me to the Naval Hospital, did a bunch of tests on me, on my eyes and my head and whatever, and they discovered that my sight loss wasn't going to make me not only eligible not to go to OCS, but I wasn't going to be able to stay in the Marine Corps. So I was in a different mode in terms of what I was trying to deal with. Like, I didn't want to get out of the Marine Corps. Right. And they were telling me that I had a sight loss problem, and it may be getting worse.
And that was from the injury in the Marine Corps.
Well, they didn't accept that initially. Later on, they did, but they didn't back then.
Right.
They didn't really. They just said I had the sight loss issue, and I was going to be discharged. And that was it. And then later, they discharged me. It said service-connected sight loss for 0%.
So what'd you do when you got out of the service then?
Well, I at that point I ended up. I've got a job working for the county that I worked in San Mateo County, California, and as a janitor, and they assigned me at a courthouse, and I began working as a janitor in a courthouse. That was like in April of 1970, and then in September I started college working for my degree, and then in June of '74 I graduated with my bachelor's degree in social service, and eventually got hired as a counselor at the juvenile hall. And then I worked my way up from there to be supervisor in that capacity, and eventually into the probation department as a juvenile probation officer, and then appointed to sit on the bench for my last 13 plus years on the bench adjudicating juvenile matters.
And you retired and came out here to Medina.
Yes.
Because it's a much better place than California, right?
I enjoy, people do that, make jokes about that and funny about that. And they find out I came from California. You moved from California to here? And I go, well, yeah. And I said, quality of life isn't always weather. Right. I said weather is nice, but it doesn't fulfill all the qualities of life that you can have. That can happen in other places where
there's only 3 months out of the year around here you might want to go back to California, but the rest of the time it is a much more beautiful place. I got to say that.
Yeah, well, it's nice. Well, you know what? I enjoy the people here too. The people when I came here and still are, so much more friendly. What it reminds me of is in the 1960s in California, on the street that I lived in San Jose, California, how the people were then and all that. But if you went back to that same area, the people are so different now. They don't have, they're always so busy working, they don't have time for nothing else. And everybody they don't even know their neighbors anymore. In my time, in the 60s there, everybody knew each other, and they knew the kids, and everybody would look after each other's kids. If they saw a kid doing something not right, they would make sure their parents became aware of it, and so on. And that's how I discovered here, the street that I live on, is the same way as it was when I was a kid.
So what do you think some of the lessons, Bob, that you learned from the Marine Corps that you've carried with you through life that got you through?
As Bob mentioned before, that simplify, that is a big deal. And you might not think about it at different times, but being faithful to everything in your life that's important, being faithful to your God, being faithful to your family and your friends and your neighbors, and just carrying through that process of looking after one another and taking care of when you see people that are down and out or whatever, doing what you can to help them, whether they're family or friends or whatever. It's to me, I discovered that that's a better way of living than other choices.
What about you, Bob?
Pretty much the same thing. Try to take care, and I don't know. I'm an animal person, so I take care of any animal. And if I see an animal in distress, I'm going to help it.
You're going to stop and help it.
And if I see a person in distress, I'm going to say, well, they're on their cell phone. They're already taking care of themselves. Right. But if I see somebody that needs help, I'm going to help.
So you guys mentioned about the kickoff for Toys for Tots is the Marine Corps Ball. What's that all about?
That's a military party to celebrate the birth of the Marine Corps, and it's just a tradition where we have a missing man table and a gentleman that gives I don't want to say a speech. He gives a reason and a dedication for that table. His name is Rick Piffle, and he does a fantastic job. But he brings tears to a lot of people's eyes and helps people understand what Marines go through and why they do what they do.
And you guys usually do like a ceremonial cake cutting with the oldest and the newest.
Oldest and youngest
So here in
Marine.
Medina County, that takes place usually the weekend before or after the Marine Corps birthday?
As close as we can to get to the birthday.
So
But it has to be before. We don't like to do it afterwards.
And I know I've been to a couple of them. They are a nice military banquet. It's not a long night, a couple hours usually. Food's good, the camaraderie is good, the cake's good, and of course so are the drinks. So, any last comments you got for our viewers out there, especially our younger viewers, that may be thinking about going into the military or what they want to do with their lives, and some words of wisdom, I guess.
In my mind and my thoughts is every kid should go into some form of the military, if for no other reason, the discipline and the people you meet and the understanding of our country and what it's all about.
Opens up your eyes getting around the world a little bit, doesn't it?
That too.
Makes America look a whole lot better. What about you, Randy?
That's pretty much the same thing. I would have said the same thing there about the service. It doesn't, whatever branch a person feels most comfortable in wanting to go into. And I think every healthy American young person should experience it, male and female. And I think that, you know, there are so many jobs that can be handled through the military that way. Not only the overseas work, but the work that can be done here. And you know, like Bob said, it really does get people disciplined, and I've had that mentioned to me so many times by Marines younger Marines that have come in, that went in after I did, that when I came in contact with them, they tell me that. They say, you know what, I really didn't have a good plan for my life, you know, and the Marine Corps gave me a good plan on how to succeed and be successful. And so many people, you know, even well-to-do people, the man that used to own the Browns, you know, right. He always gave praise to the Marine Corps for putting him in a situation to have a plan for his life, and look what it turned out. So there are so many people like that, and it could be other branches of the military. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the Marine Corps. I think
for a lot of younger folks too, is it gives them a break to, do I want to go to college? Do I not want to go? What do I want to do? It gives them a time to think, to where, you know, they're going to be given something to do. They're going to be given a paycheck. They're going to be given a mission, and they can kind of mature a little bit.
And that's exactly where I was. You know, my initial plan was going to college after high school, and then, you know, I started thinking about it. My senior year in high school, I started thinking about it, and I changed. From going to college, I decided I wanted to go into the military, and I wanted to choose the Marine Corps. That was the one. Of all the readings I'd done, I always read history, and the military history, because Navy would have been my way, because my father put 30 years in the Navy and 20 years in the Merchant Marine, because he went in as a 14-year-old in 1943 of June. And so Navy was the way, and my father would have pulled strings left and right, and that's why I decided not to go in the Navy and chose the Marine Corps, because I liked the history, and I didn't want my father pulling strings for me. I wanted to do things on my own.
You would have been an admiral or something, maybe.
Could have been.
Let's talk a couple of seconds real quick on Toys for Tots again before we close up. You start collecting toys right after the Marine Corps ball. We already talked about where they can be dropped off. Our office, First Merit on Medina Square, and the Salvation Armies. How long do you collect the toys for?
Well, that's a good question. This year we're not sure how that's going to go, but we will probably have applications at the Medina libraries.
And that's for the distribution of the toys?
That's for the families to come to get an application.
Okay.
On the application, they'll put down the names and ages and sexes of the kids, mail that to the Marine Corps League, which has a post office box. We fill the orders and distribute them to the different locations so they can be picked up.
When do you usually start distributing toys?
Usually the Tuesday and Wednesday, or the Wednesday and Thursday before Christmas.
Okay.
And then.
So you probably collect the toys through about the second week of December then, right?
Definitely.
Okay, all right.
And if the people can't get an application and they just walk in, we'll do what we can to help them.
All right. And the distribution points this year are going to be the Salvation Armies, correct?
Right. Salvation Army in Wadsworth, Salvation Army in Medina. The place in Brunswick is a warehouse that we had last year.
Okay.
And who did I leave out? Lodi will be the American Legion Hall.
American Legion down. So if you want more information on that, as the information flows, you can stop by our office. We'll get it out to you. Please, if you can, drop off toys, new unwrapped toys, ages baby to 13-year-old. And then if you need toys, you can stop by and get an application when they become available later on in November. All right, I want to thank both of you guys for coming on the show today and talking a little bit about both your service and Toys for Tots. I always ask everybody that's been on the show one last question. So I'm going to start with Bob. If you had a choice to do it all over again, would you do it?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
I knew that. All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Bob. Thanks
No
for coming on the
problem.
show, Randy. We'll see you. We'll see you next month on Salute to Service. Thank you, and have a good holiday season.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Excuse me. Excuse me, are you Santa Claus? I heard you might be him. If you are him, here's my list.
Help the Marines make Christmas possible for less fortunate children. Donate a new toy to Toys for Tots.
Here's Santa Claus.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Hi, I'm Ed Zachary with Medina County Veterans Service Office. And if you're a veteran and you're in a crisis, or worse yet, contemplating suicide, I want you to pick up the phone and call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. Do it now.